Welcome, fellow watchers. Does anyone out there remember the 1990s?
To be or not to be? Not to be.
Were some of you even alive when 1999 exploded into existence and adults partied like it was a Prince song? Back in those old days, Buffy the Vampire Slayer became a hit TV series that was one of a few shows from the mid-90s to inspire a lot of what modern-day television and movies do today. It's hard to believe, but it's true. Huh? Mom, leave me alone. I'm doing a podcast. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show. I don't want to do the movie. Why? Well, alright then. Let's begin. In 1992, Joss Whedon was already a reliable script doctor for Hollywood films, fixing storylines or filling in plot holes from flawed screenplays. The first movie made from an original screenplay by Mr. Whedon was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which of course became a 1992 classic. Whedon would provide input as an advisor on the set, but after some, we can call it drama, Whedon bailed out halfway through the production. It would be 5 years later when Joss Whedon was offered to do a television series based on the Buffyverse, which quickly became an underground hit that was loved by many and hated by many others. The Buffy TV series made an indelible mark on film and television, and the DNA of its storytelling style, characterization, and snarky humor reverberates through the visual medium to this very day. But what is the story behind the movie that came before the show? What made Joss Whedon so sad about the movie's production? Was he just a crotchety, controlling young man? Was he merely heartbroken to see that his vision was taken over by others who viewed that vision with different, vision? Honestly, this movie's vision was in dire need of prescription lenses. So short-sighted. Join me, watchers, as we dive, or at least sink the tips of our pointy teeth into the storytelling jugular of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's about a young lady named Buffy. She slays vampires. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a very simple story. It's about a naive but well-meaning young girl who ends up understanding that there's more to this material world than just clothes, talking at the movie theater, and popularity. She learns all this by fighting vampires. Buffy is thrust into the duties of a slayer after the previous one died. She is the one, and there can be only one. Slayers are gifted with superhuman abilities to protect humankind against an ever-increasing vampire threat. Merrick is her watcher who can provide provides history and lore to a slayer, as well as train them on how to use their abilities to defend against evil. Merrick is one from a line of many generations who stick to older traditions and training. He searched far and wide for the location of the new Slayer and was a little later than usual getting to Buffy.
It is true. You have missed years of training.
She needs a bit of a crash course on how to slay, but she proves to be both talented and stubborn. The two of them butt heads a bit due to wildly different views of the world. She plays against tradition, but they really need to work together and find a common middle ground for the greater good.
The greater good.
One night, two wild boys, Pike and Benny, sneak into a movie and get frustrated at Buffy and her friends for talking during the movie.
Hey.
Oh gosh, I don't die a virgin.
Just shut up, please.
There's a special hell for people who talk in a movie theater.
The special hell.
As long as movie theaters still exist, at least, for now. Walking that night in the park, Pike passes out just as Benny gets approached by Amelin, Lothos' right-hand man. He turns Benny into a vampire. Merrick finds Pike passed out and takes him to safety. The next night, Pike once again runs into Amelin. Pike manages to disarm him, only to end up having to work with Buffy to help prevent more victims falling to the clutches of vampiric succdom. Pike works on cars and mechanical equipment, which he uses to build tools to help Buffy seek the evildoers in the dark alleys and bright nighttime forests during the night. It's up to Merrick, Buffy, and Pike to find Lothos and destroy the evil, while each of them have to rely on each other's strengths to claim victory. During the movie's finale, Buffy goes to a school dance where she ends up dancing with Pike.
You know, Buffy, you're not like other girls.
Yes, I am.
And they like each other a lot, perhaps even past the friend zone, and there's a badly assembled finale sequence of vampire, quote, mayhem at the dance. Buffy fights Lothos and he gets killed. In the end, she's truly a badass slayer. Yay, what a movie. My life has changed. It's tough to discuss a movie that happens to be not very good, but also not truly terrible. I didn't watch this movie for over 20 years, and, well, I didn't hate it. One of the few things that made the movie watchable was due to the commitment the main cast put into their respective roles. Kristy Swanson does a great job starting out as a flighty valley girl with very few goals other than shopping and being a good cheerleader, but she's even able to show some vulnerability when the movie needs it. I like when she is allowed to shift out of badass gear and slow down with Pike as they bond. At one point, Pike stays at Buffy's place and they establish respectful barriers, while also realizing that neither one needs to be an enemy to the other.
You find yourself babbling incoherently to a stranger man in your living room.
Are you calling me a man?
Pike's not a douchebag. This opens the door for them to invite friendship, or more, into their hearts by means of mutual courtesy, not by being a rude jerk and forcing a relationship that is unhealthy and toxic, because the writer understands for this screenplay that the audience should relate to the main characters by expressing traits of goodness, not by demanding respect by forced submission. So anyway, by the time they are dancing together in Act 3, I felt that the chemistry between the two had just enough investment to provide a satisfactory conclusion of their relationship. I've never watched Beverly Hills 90210, but back then the show was a super hit. Luke Perry was a hot ticket item by the time this started filming. He played his role with honest intent, and he's easily likable, and that's what's important about his part.
And you have been chosen, Buffy. Now, you must come with me now to the graveyard while there's still time. Time to stop the killing, to stop the vampires.
Donald Sutherland plays Merrick, and I think he's quite good in it, but there is at least one person who absolutely despised him. We'll get to that later. Rutger Hauer is awesome as Lothos. Why? Well, because he's Rutger Hauer. All he has to do is talk menacingly and chew the scenery, which he carries out with his usual cheeky charm. I could seriously watch any movie he's in and hate the movie but still love the man, which I've done many times. I mean, I didn't love the man. I've watched his movies, many times.
Yeah? Yeah?
Anyway, in his younger days, he was quite fetching and a bit of a heartthrob. Skip to the early 80s, and he's mastered the glint in the eye with a twinkle, which came to define so many of his roles. By the way, if you haven't seen Blind Fury yet, stop everything and watch it now. I'll still be here. Go on. Don't be afraid.
What's your problem, jerk-off? You blind?
Yeah. What's your excuse?
Paul Rubens as Amelin seems to be coming out of a completely different movie compared to the tone portrayed by Buffy, Pike, Merrick, or even Lothos.
Aren't there times when you just feel less than fresh? You're pathetic.
In most other movies, he would be completely out of place and it wouldn't work, but I think the lack of budget, the movie's wild tonal shifts, and how everything seems to be on the verge of falling apart throughout the whole movie is a benefit to Rubens' over-the-top silly antics.
We're immortal, Buffy. You can do anything.
Oh, yeah? Clap.
He looks pretty cool too. I mean, with his goatee and... That's pretty funny. Well played, sir. Well played. As for the rest of the cast, the main principal players have already been present and accounted for, but the school principal himself is played by Stephen Root. Man, that guy hasn't changed much in 30 years.
Well, okay.
What, does he maintain sustenance off of vampire blood or something?
Just right.
He's another slice of comic relief.
Detention, detention, detention. Detention, detention.
But it's alright because I don't mind seeing him in anything he's in, so overall the casting is pretty good. There were a couple of other cameos I may or may not have noticed 20 years ago, such as...
What does it look like?
And him...
Take it, man.
And him...
Hey, babe, you want to get some real power between your legs?
Yeah, I do.
You punks owe me 10 grand. Leo needs a new pair of shoes.
And the best cameo of all.
What nasty bug crawled up your fungus?
Punishment.
A lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is stuck in the early 90s, and it oozes with budgetary constraints, and is held back in a lot of ways by a lack of consistent tone and odd creative decisions. It was directed by second-time director Fran Kuzui. It was also the last movie Fran directed. If that name seems familiar, it's probably because you watched the TV series. Due to contractual obligations, Fran was allowed to have an executive producer credit for every single episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer series. The same credit went to her husband, Kaz, so Fran and Kaz will forever have their names associated with the Buffy franchise. And they'll get a paycheck for all of it. That's just wonderful, to do nothing. Kind of feels like another one of those...
And then one day he became a producer, because in Hollywood you just kind of fail upwards.
But this isn't the point of this review. So now that we have the positives out of the way...
Well, good evening then.
Perhaps Fran Kuzui's most interesting directing trait is how generic and bland the directorial choices were. The poor set design doesn't give this movie any favors. Plenty of interiors and exteriors are overlit, making everything too sterile and drab. Atmosphere doesn't exist in the Kuzui vocabulary. However, if you're willing to toss aside the what could have beens, and if they did a better job with lighting, dress the sets with more personality and panache, it may have been easier to accept this movie's strengths at face value. Albeit that face isn't all that good looking, but at least it's not hideous. Don't look at me. I'm a monster. With just enough serious thrown in by the key cast members, you end up with a wobbly, uneven mix of potential goodness disguised in a haze of incompetent mediocrity. Buffy the Vampire Slayer couldn't fail to successfully fail on several fronts without mentioning the editing. With the garish lighting, ugly color gamut, cheap sets, and wildly disparate performances.
You're gonna wish you died.
The editing doesn't do much to bolster the pace, place and setting, or meld performances into a proper balance, or even allow for tighter, more visceral fight sequences. At least viewers can still comprehend what is happening because the camera doesn't move that much. Everything is in wide shot so you can see it all happening in slow motion. So, I mean, that's a good thing. Oh, and scenes are more or less in order too, so, I mean, that's good too. I'm just trying to give credit where it's due. Also, most of the movie feels rushed, and I don't mean in the YYZ kind of way. It's as if there wasn't much time to shoot it. This feels most apparent in the most important set piece of the entire movie, the vampire invasion at the high school dance. So here we are, at the culmination of all events in the story, the epic showdown of infected versus hundreds, in this movie it's dozens of high school students. There should be mayhem, movement, and action as a slew of victims fight and scream their hearts out while defending against the powerful vampire foes. Instead, it feels as if they had a few days to get some extras on location, told them to look panicked a bit, and then they disappear for a while and you don't see much carnage. It just feels so hollow. The sheer lack or disregard of continuity between shots during the school dance attack leaves viewers slightly confused and disoriented. That uncanny disconnect destroys the heartblood of this movie's finale. It's sucked dry by sheer incompetence. Imagine if they filmed the dance party massacre with lower lighting, shadows licking the edges of faces, and hiding vampires and students in patches of darkness. The hunters hiding from the hunted. Imagine more dynamic cinematography with tighter framing, extreme close-ups of individuals being dragged, thrown, bitten, and beaten amongst a cacophony of screams and pierced flesh. And then start with a few wide shots to establish the setting and throw the audience into the mayhem with quick, decisive editing of 4 different types of victims being devoured in a montage of insanity, each of those 4 people with their own little story to tell within that massacre. Show one of the mousy, nerdy girls with glasses all of a sudden start snarling and gnashing against a vampire and smoking with a table leg, while the next shot has a high school jock in a Letterman jacket sitting in a fetal position in the middle of the room, sobbing uncontrollably as chairs and bodies are flung all around him. This is a scene that demanded a firm director's hand with proper planning beforehand. The writing room should have conversed as a team to brainstorm interesting quirks, where the school dance massacre tells small stories about people in small snippets, framed in chaos. Fleeting revelations about finding your true self when your emotional limits are tested and your grit and mettle is the last bastion of hope for survival in a fit of primal rage. But nope. Instead we got what we got. All the flaws of this movie kind of come together in the worst way during what should have been the best part of the movie.
Party time!
This party sucks, man.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer is rife with squandered potential at every turn, and a director sitting behind it all who doesn't know how to juggle the story's themes with elegance. With all that said, I have to admit that I do like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It has enough campy charm, cheeky humor, little bits of drama thrown in to make it easily digestible entertainment. Not going to win any awards, of course, nor should it be expected to leave a lasting impression on the viewer, but for what it is, it's fine. And the screenplay is actually not that bad. Any potential for this movie to become something better was undermined and usurped by an inexperienced director at the very least, one that lacked proper planning, nor had a clear, definable vision for their project. It is an incongruous stream of good ideas floating in the ether, disconnected from one another, becoming a random soup of failed potential due to an inexperienced project lead. Well, fellow watchers, this concludes my overview and thoughts and impressions of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie from 1992. Part 1. Part 2 is coming soon. I will discuss the behind-the-scenes nuggets of interest. It includes tidbits from an interview with Joss Whedon that took place right before the start of Season 6 of the TV show. So he talks a lot about this movie and what direction the show went to, and believe me, he doesn't hold back about his thoughts on this flick. I will also discuss my perspective on why he craps doo-doo all over the movie, and then use the screenplay itself as a comparison tool that may or may not support a lot of his arguments. I hope you enjoyed part 1, and if so, prepare yourself, fellow watchers, for part 2.